Second.
Any abstention? No, then minutes will stand approved as submitted. Next, please.
Next is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the redevelopment agency may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the executive director for investigation and report.
Mr. Milano. Your name for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Herbert Milano, members of the redevelopment agency and city staff. This morning I read in the paper some comments by the ex-mayor Carl Raggio concerning that maybe the city council should think about removing you from heading this particular agency. And I want to say that I truly appreciate the level of effort and diligence that you take into reading the documents that are being brought before you. Whenever I have an opportunity to read as much as I can, I notice that some council members, oftentimes, some members of the agency, don't often read a lot of the pertinent information, and yet decisions are being made. You have been very courteous to me, and whenever I come in to present a different point of view, and I want to say that that to me is a level of professionalism that I truly appreciate, knowing that the issues that may be sometimes pertinent but oftentimes not brought up are going to be sometimes be brought forward. I want to also continue to suggest that a summary of the environmental impact reports, a quantitative summary, be made part of the environmental impact report process so that we can see at a glance the overall impacts that new projects may have. And I would also like to suggest that we incorporate the objectives of the mitigation steps into some type of citywide strategic plan. I go back to that environmental impact report for the greater downtown Glendale that stated that it was an objective, a mitigating objective, to create 18.3 acres of parkland back in 1996. But somehow that objective never found itself into any type of strategic plan to say every year we'll come in and review all of these mitigation objectives in all of these EIR to say this is the way the city promised to mitigate these impacts through these actions. Somehow they never filter back into an overall comprehensive citywide strategic plan because there isn't any. And not in the way that I've seen other cities do it. Oftentimes those issues with regard to what is the objective concerning parkland in the southern part of Glendale, or in this particular, the DSP, or in the greater downtown strategic plan. What is that objective? What is the total acreage? What is the objective to which the city is aiming for? And then evaluate to see if the policies that are taking place is meeting it, and when we don't meet it, what are the additional alternatives that the city will take? But at least it should be done on a continual basis, on a yearly basis, so that we don't get a surprise that, 3 decades later, the whole objective was, was found out by someone, said, oh, wait a second, someone had this objective back in the 1970s, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, it's too expensive now for us to take care of it. And I think we're finding the same thing with regard to water usage, with regard to the landfill, with regard to energy usage, with regard to general overall major strategic objectives with, are we going to turn an approach towards the greening of buildings and the city, not just in terms of trees and parkland, but with regard to green building concepts. So it is my hope that the city will take a more proactive approach towards creating true strategic plan, not just for the city council, but for the redevelopment agency, so that we know on a year-to-year basis whether or not those objectives are being met and what are the difficulties that the city is encountering. One other last comment that I would like to make. I find myself oftentimes with a great degree of frustration sitting back here after I finish speaking, as I sense that some topics that are fairly relevant to a topic, some topics are not truly debated or presented. And as I take a look at the environmental impact report process, where the way the city answers them, here is a comment that was made, here is a reply to that comment, and here is another commentary that was made, and here's the reply to that. And it is my hope that if the public is allowed to send to you comments, that somehow they be addressed in one way or another, because the limit that you give us for 4 or 5 minutes, oftentimes on issues that are fairly extensive, don't really get to see the light of day. And unfortunately, I think that some of them are pretty relevant and would answer the concerns, for example, that Mr. Weaver may have. And so I would like to suggest that the city promote maybe the public to submit questions to which the city or the staff could answer, in a debate form. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. It is my understanding that questions could be submitted to the city clerk as written communications, and I'm pretty sure that the staff will then respond to those. So I think your idea is a good one. If you would like to submit some of those questions in writing, you can do that to the city clerk, which would make sure that it goes to the appropriate departments for an answer. Thank you. Oral communications closed. What's next, please?
Any agency member or staff comments?
Any comments? Hearing none. Agency, what's next, please?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second. We are adjourned.